Hello, I'm Clark Farley.
And I'm Denise Pizarro, and we are realtors at Randall Realtors in Westerly, Rhode Island. We invite you to spend a little time as we share our insights and experiences, tips and tactics acquired over quite a few years. Our goal, help you become a better buyer and a skilled seller.
You know, Denise, there's an old saying in real estate, change is the only constant. Our series, and I've talked to somebody today about the live briefings. The 20-minute briefings are an example of that, both in principle and in practice. We were prompted by the constraints of the social distancing last year with the stuff that happened. And that combined with all of the tools that we have and your impulsive suggestion that we do all of this live ended up with doing these things every Wednesday, which is not the worst thing we could be doing. So we don't get to spend time with clients in cars or at kitchen tables with sellers, but this is kind of like that. It's situational. It's in a context. We're reacting to situations, which I've said 18 times. But we have a great time doing it.
That's it. And we do examples of our real life and extensive experience in the business. And that makes up for what our 20-minute briefings are all about, right?
Well, yeah, and I was when I was writing this week's script, it was thinking about the seminars we used to do, which were good and they were comprehensive. But the reality, as you and I talked about, was that it comes down to somebody sees a house after 18 houses and says, "Oh man, I got to buy it. What do I do next?"
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of thing, except for the current market.
Yeah, the current market is quite a bit different than that.
And then what happens now is you have a showing, and as you drive the car ahead of your buyers, and it looks like Woodstock when you get like 2 blocks from the house. People walking back. That's an old reference. Denise disagrees with me using ancient references. But
yeah, we can talk about like Disney or something like that instead of Woodstock. But anyway.
But now you have to picture the whole thing with people walking back with a stall line of cars, except they're buyers, modern buyers, so they got the cell phones and their disappointed look on their face because, I mean, seriously, in our local area, and we'll be talking about Denise's exploratory trips, our local area, the market is so hot that it's the standard is 15-minute showings.
Yes, right now that's what we're looking at is get in, get out.
Yeah, so, and we're telling sellers to play that It's a Small World on the radio.
So this week our topic is seller turns buyer in a seller market, advantage seller. But before we do that, we do want to tell you that we are live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, obviously. And you could be watching us on either one. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. You can also go to YouTube and see our past videos. Some of them are better than others, but take a look at them all. And you will learn something in each and every one of them. We're also on Instagram and on Twitter. And on Instagram, we do a bi-weekly where in South County are we? And it's a little fun to see if you can guess where we are. So that's what we'd like you to do. And now we're going to set the scene for sellers turn buyers in a seller's market. Go ahead, Clark.
And in case you were wondering if Denise had painted her office, Emma, you're on the road.
I am on the road.
You're in Florida?
I am on the road.
Maybe somebody out there will do a comment to help me encourage her to survey the market in real time. And it's one thing to go out on the internet; it's another thing to be there in person and talk to other agents and all, trying to get it.
Well, Clark has asked me to go to spend some time with other realtors in the area that I'm staying in, and I've already told him no because I'm on vacation, and we've made a promise to do this, and that's why I'm here. But he's also thrown a little monkey wrench in things because I thought we were talking about one thing today and we're talking about something different. So Clark, why don't you start with what the subject is today about sellers turning into buyers?
Okay, if you're going to put it that way. It's always, everybody has heard us talk about the seller's market and how extreme it is. and we've spent a lot of time on buyers, but the idea of a seller, you know, if there's talk about, hey, you can't afford not to sell. And we've talked in previous briefings about, yeah, but you got to go live somewhere. So we're trying to now look at, okay, are there alternatives to moving in with your kids, which was Denise's creative solution to the problem of, okay, it's one thing to sell your house for more money than you may see ever again, but what are you going to do after that? And so I sort of thought along those lines and thinking about the person who's somehow they weren't planning to sell, but they're stumbling across the fact that the house is now bigger than it used to be. Maybe the kids are in college, moved away, or maybe
COVID. COVID could be a good reason to move for some people.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm with my brother and his wife down here, and they have decided to move. They was not their plan. They were living in New England, and they just decided that, you know what, we're stuck in the house. We don't want to be stuck in the house. We're working from home. Let's go somewhere a little more comfortable, a little more spread out. And they're down here now, and they're loving it.
So
and they sold their house in they lived in a condo, and they sold it in days. And they didn't really have a place down here to come to, but they did have a relative down here that they were able to hang out with until then. So.
And that's kind of the angle, the rather creative angle that I was hoping we would take advantage of, is that kind of a marginal seller, meaning not like we got to move, but, well, how would we pull it off if we tried to take advantage of this market? And so it's all based on the idea of equity in the house. And, if you've lived in your own house for a long enough time, you may or may not be surprised at the amount of equity. As a reflection of the rising market. If you have, you can do a lot of things to not have equity. There's no guarantee that time gives you equity, but I think a lot of people might be surprised at how much equity there is in their current home. So our suggestion, as always, is you check with a banker if you'd like to get an appraisal. You check with your real estate agent if you'd like to get a broker price opinion. One will be for a fee, and the other one will be useful to give you an idea. The real estate agent will do it as a service, guaranteed.
Just one note though on this market, it's probably a good idea to talk to a realtor first, even if you do decide later to get an appraisal, because literally it's changing by the month or even maybe by the week as to value right now. So when I'm doing a market analysis for my clients right now, I'm only looking back no more than 3 months. Typically, we look back 6 months. And I'm also, if it's a real busy market, I may look back a month to see what things are selling for that are comparable to your house. And I think that's probably what the appraisers are doing too, because we're not seeing major issues with appraisals. So I think that it's wise if you're going to do something to get an idea of your value, but you got to do it. You may have to do it 2 or 3 times, because if you take a month to make a decision, that number can change.
I'd suggest, though, that the number would change only upwards until something bad happens, market-wise. Yes. So it will increase. The idea of when it stops, I mean, in the last, what was it, in 2007 and 8, that market that went crazy there, I actually believed I knew what was going to happen next. This one is different. Last year, all of the core assumptions got turned on their heads. So whether this goes on forever and increasing prices to where a 3-bedroom ranch is $6 million in South Kingston, that could happen based on what we've seen in the last year. But there's a good chance that no, it doesn't continually go up. Which is getting kind of off the topic, but the idea is if you're tempted to try to take advantage of the market and you'd be happy living elsewhere, then what tools do you have available? A couple of things come to mind. Bridge loans, you'll hear that term. I use that with a seller I was talking to last year,
Mm-hmm.
last week, and the idea of with sufficient equity that might allow you to get the process started with buying the other house. Somebody on a call today mentioned the idea of offer strategy centered on the idea of keeping other people from buying it, which is an interesting approach, and I'll do it on another 20-minute briefing.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's confusing to me.
it wasn't me
I
too.
think the bridge loan is a good idea, but I also think that you have to be careful of when you have to talk to the lender and see what your status is, like you said about equity. But also, I know people have done home equity loans. Excuse me. If you put your house on the market, you can't get a mortgage while your house is on the market. Is that not, am I saying that right? I'm confused now. I just confused myself.
No, I run into that myself with some of the properties I've had that have required that. So
yeah, you can't get a home equity loan while your house is on the market. That's what it is. So you have to do the home equity loan first if you have equity in your house. Then you will become a cash buyer for the home you're going to buy. And then you don't have to put an offer in contingent on selling your house. When you sell the house, then you can pay off the equity loan and you should be good to go.
especially if you're moving out of the area too. You're a good example of that right now. If you go far enough away from our local market, which for our friends in Idaho, we're in southern New England, southern part of Rhode Island, and the market values are pretty high due to the ocean. But there are parts of the country that, while they may be rising markets, X number of dollars will buy you more than they will locally. So for somebody who would be willing to live in Arkansas, for instance,
South Carolina, Georgia.
those are nice places and all. So that business of the home equity representing a valid chance to turn into a cash buyer.
Right.
And I think reflecting on what you just said about that, that's where an appraisal would come in. And an appraisal, I always like to make that distinction for clients. An appraisal is a very formal process. You do get to pay for it, but it's to a standard that is submissible to court.
I think if you have a mortgage, though, you want to talk to your lender first, because if there's not enough, if you do go for home equity or a bridge loan, they're going to order an appraisal anyway.
Yeah.
So you might want to find out about your equity before you even get an appraisal. So maybe just talking to an agent first, and then talk to your lender. And again, Clark often talks about building teams, and I said we don't have to bring it up every single week. But in this particular case,
we do.
Clark is correct. So yes, that you are correct this time, Clark. So yes, I think you want to, get your team together to help you get in a position to not only sell your home, but be in a position to make an offer on the home that you want to move to. Because that's the big question right now when you're going to sell is where am I going? And so you want to put yourself in a good light. If you've got a house to sell right now and you have not made some kind of a plan on how you're going to purchase the other house, chances are your offer is not going to be accepted with a contingency to sell your house. Not in this market.
Yeah. You totally have to do that, and you're anticipating my third point of this preparation is now you're a seller turned buyer, but going back to the seller piece of that is that the fear is always what happens if I get an offer. Buyers are going to try to make offers you can't refuse, but you, in good faith and good business, you would never put a house out there unless you were prepared to sell it for the right price, terms, and conditions. But we have this little phrase, subject to seller identifying suitable housing, which puts the buyer's market on notice as to it's conditional without it being don't give up, just know that we would have to identify suitable housing. And I personally think that that's a really strong tool for a seller to protect their interests, stay available without having to bat away the offers that are being thrown.
Yes. Absolutely. You can put that in there, and you can negotiate closing dates in any circumstances. Closing dates are negotiable. And if you put it in your listing that you have to find suitable housing, it lets the buyer know that you don't have a place right now, and that you may need some extra time to find a place. And if you get an accepted offer on your house, then it is more appealing to a seller of the house you're going to buy. That would be more appealing than just saying, I have to sell my house. But
saying that first is way better than the idea of trying to do a Hubbard. A Hubbard, by the way, is a term for the type of offer you might make on a property that says, sure, I'll buy a house for this price, terms, and conditions, but I got to sell this other house. In this market, as if I were the listing agent, a Hubbard would be so far down on the bottom of the pile that I wouldn't be able to see it. It was so far down. It was like on the floor.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about financial alternatives, bridge loans, home equity loans, or having a plan of where you can go if your house sells while you're still looking. Because once your house sells, obviously you'll have some cash to put towards your new house. So to make yourself a better buyer in this market, if you're also a seller, you still need to be prepared.
Yeah.
You need to have a plan.
Yeah, and that's at the core of all of the briefings, and the whole premise of what we're doing is the preparation you put in before you start is the thing that A, will make it work, and 2, will reduce stress. And we're all about stress reduction here.
We are. We talk about that and that one is important because that is why we're doing the briefings. We want to give you as many answers as we can, so don't ever hesitate to ask us questions. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, there is a comment box you can ask us questions in. And if we don't get to your question today, we will bring it up at another briefing. We have done that for numerous questions in the past, so we will do it again.
Yeah, is there anybody from Idaho out there? I'm actually quite serious about that because we're in a local market that is pretty compact by Idahoan standards. But this being the internet, it would be interesting to hear from people, buyers.
I think somebody's going to finally just tell you they're from Idaho, even though they're not, Clark, because you keep asking.
But I actually know people from Idaho, and I could test them, and their ruse would be discovered.
I think you have to hashtag Idaho the next time we put these out there. And
where in Idaho are we?
Yeah, hashtag that and see if we can get somebody from Idaho to watch. Anyway, we're getting close to the end. We're about time almost to finish up. So we do want you to watch our real estate briefings, our 20-minute real estate briefings every Wednesday night at 5:30 live on Facebook and YouTube. Also, please subscribe and like us, share us with your friends, because we know you know someone who wants to buy or sell a house, and they would be thinking you're the best person in the world to give them this valuable information, right?
Yeah, and we'll send a T-shirt to somebody who sends us a bunch of people who get a lot of people to come and watch us, because that's the whole idea.
We have a T-shirt?
Yeah, we'll make one. We could have a T-shirt.
We'll make a T-shirt. That's it. Let's have a contest right now. If you share us with people and they subscribe to YouTube, I don't know if we can track this, but we'll try. We'll buy you a T-shirt.
We'll do the honor system because the idea is we haven't worked out the logo yet, but I mean,
yeah. So send us a list. You message us a list or email us or call. Well, don't call us with a list, but email us or send us a list of who you brought over and they subscribed to our YouTube channel. And then whoever gets the most people, we will send them a T-shirt.
Of their choice, or
I think we'll have a T-shirt made.
Yeah, that actually can be fun and interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching.
Okay, well, then and before we go,
what's that?
I was asking them if they had any questions.
I did. I think I asked that already. But does anyone have a question? No. So, they might type slow, but we'll finalize this contest and get back to you on that. with further details. So check out our Facebook page and you'll see more details about the contest, because this is just coming off both the top of our heads at the moment.
Yeah,
right?
Clearly.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5:30.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.